like I'm a runner. I love to run. I used to love to run. I don't run it very much. I do exactly what you said. I do occasional sprints with a lot of walking, a lot of hiking. And so, but I don't get the same endorphin high.
Mm-hmm.
Are there certain activities we can do as we age that will give us that same endorphin rush?
Well, I think that's certainly allowed to pursue that wonderful euphoric feeling that you get from strenuous exercise. And the harder and or longer the effort is, the more endorphins flow into your bloodstream. And this, again, is a genetic survival mechanism to keep you going when you're starving and you're low blood sugar, but you still need to hunt and gather for 7 more hours or whatever. Also interesting to note is that the endorphin rush, from evolutionary perspective, this is what happens when your time has come. So when the zebra is getting chased by the lion and the zebra realizes that it ain't going to happen and it lies down to get eaten, the body is flooded with endorphins so that one's death can be as painless and peaceful as possible. So knowing that and having that notion in your head, realizing what you're chasing at your next Soul Cycle workout or whatever, it is a high. It is a form of addiction when you start chasing that to the regular, because instead it's supposed to be a life or death response to a challenge. So I'll report, I'm not an endurance athlete anymore. I'm obsessed with sprinting and high jumping, but I climbed the Cactus to Clouds Trail in Palm Springs last fall with my friend, and it took us 15 hours, and it's the steepest hiking trail in the United States. So it's the toughest trail known perhaps in the world, with an elevation gain of 8,400 feet in the first 9.3 miles. The whole thing's 22 miles. It's an amazing, way past my capability, but we're like, hey, we're getting old. We better try this and do it one more time or whatever we can do. So I was flooded with endorphins that whole day because I was extending so far past my capability. Guess what? I did it. It felt great. I leveraged the endorphin high to perform a great achievement and enjoy it after. The point is not to abuse it. So I don't want to be like a spoil sport and say, you should never do those intense spinning classes because they make you feel great and it's way better than sitting your butt on the couch. But we just have to get that perspective of like, okay, don't liquidate your assets, save up, prepare yourself for a peak performance effort, and then go out there and blast it on Saturday morning at CrossFit where the people are chanting your name for your final set because you're going to do better than last week. That's great. And that's a recalibration. That's a recalibration of mindset instead of associating your workout patterns with the endorphin high and that being the driving reason that you're doing it.
That's crazy.
That is going to be your 80-year-old self is now shaking their head up in the clouds going, what are you doing, dummy?
Yeah, I did not know that that's what endorphins were for.
Yeah, the zebra lying down and going, all right, get it over with.
Ready to be eaten. Getting ready to be eaten. That is crazy, Brad. I never even thought about that. Yeah. What are your thoughts on rucking?
It's really cool to see it becoming popular. I do have one little side question to ask everyone, which is like, what about just hiking without the weight on your back? Yeah. Like, is this a necessary, are we needing to torture ourselves in order to score the points as we break free from our addiction to CrossFit, spinning, or endurance training? Because again, that fat max heart rate will sneak up on you like you cannot even believe. What I mean is like, you're going to hit your beeper alarm. Mine's 120. You listening at age 30 is going to be 150. That thing starts beeping at a shockingly low intensity level. So I think the main benefit of rucking might be to equalize performance. Like when I hike with my wife and we get to a really, really steep hill, I push her from behind and both of our heart rates go up right to the max of our fat max heart rate. Because she's getting a boost and I'm working a lot harder.
Yeah.
And so that's my association with rucking is like, if you want to go out with your partner and you're way fitter, then throw on 27 pounds and you guys are both going to be huffing and puffing. But be careful with these fitness crazes whereby it might be too strenuous for you and defeat the purpose of an outing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I resisted rucking for a long time for that exact reason. I was like, really? We can't just go hike? Now we got to like put on a weighted vest?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go hike in nature with a friend and enjoy myself. And then I actually saw the studies on osteoporosis and how it helps menopausal women prevent osteoporosis. And I'm not a big fan of genetic testing, but I can look at the genetics of my 85-year-old mom and I can see she has osteoporosis, and I can know that that's something I want to prevent. So I started rucking. I started looking into it, And I think it matches the Hadza tribe. I think that's exactly what those grandmothers were doing. They probably had to put a kid on their back. They had to put a basket of food on their back. There was something that they had to do that added a little extra weight on their body. And it would make sense to me, with little extra weight on the body while you're working would send a signal to the bones to be stronger.
Sure. Any weight-bearing exercise is wonderful.
Yeah.
And so in that respect, that can be a huge benefit. We also want to categorize, like, our needs for fitness are this aerobic or cardiovascular conditioning. And then we have the intense need to engage in resistance training to preserve lean muscle mass and lean muscle strength throughout life. A lot of experts like Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, Dr. Peter Attia are saying that preserving muscle mass is the single biggest factor for longevity. And then we have this all-out, brief, explosive performance as a huge indicator of fitness, anti-aging, and overall health and vitality. So we have these pillars of fitness that we need to pursue. And when we talk about resistance exercise and building or preserving lean muscle mass, the best way to do this are brief, intense sessions that don't last forever and ever, but you're doing a set of 12 to failure, and then you're moving to the next station. The next station, Dr. Doug McGuff, author of Body by Science, he has this big 5 workout where you go to the gym once a week and do 5 machines of the major muscle groups of the upper and lower body. It's the lat pull down, the chest press, the overhead press, the seated row, and the leg press. And that covers all the major muscle groups of the body. You do a single set to failure, not that much rest between sets, so the whole thing takes only 15 minutes, and you do it once a week. And he has extensive research showing that frequency of the workout once a week and that duration, only 15 minutes, is optimal for actually building strength and increasing the strength of your muscles in those major muscle groups. In other words, if you were going to go 2 times a week, a lot of times that's tipping over the edge and you might get some overuse and some regression in fitness. So the objective to maintain muscle strength requires 15 minutes a week in this context. So again, we don't have a time limitation.
At max failure, like
You're
lift the
single
heaviest.
set to failure.
Yeah. Lift the heaviest
or near
thing
failure,
you can.
Whatever.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different opinions and parameters, but if you put your muscles under resistance load, you don't have to do it day after day after day, or you're going to crap out, right? And the same with sprinting is even less frequent, can be optimal, like once every 7 to 10 days. If I'm talking about high impact, weight-bearing sprinting on flat ground, most people will be starting with sprinting on the stationary bike, the rowing machine, or up the stadium stairs or something that's inclined, so you're not getting that impact load on the joints and tendons that aren't ready. But you do want to take it to max for very brief duration once in a while. And that is the complete picture of fitness and anti-aging, in stark contrast to the grinding and the overuse of steady state cardio at slightly to significantly too difficult of a heart rate.
Yeah, that's so beautifully said. And again, I go back to, what did our ancestors do? Let's repeat whatever they did.